I know what
I
you
can't
like.
hear it that. I can't hear it that well.
You can't hear it?
There we go. So I'm happy. We don't even have to talk. Oh, George Michael in the morning.
Right? I know what you like. I know what you like.
Oh my gosh,
I,
that's fantastic.
it's so good, right? So good. Good morning.
Morning.
You may, ladies and gentlemen, we are so glad you are here. You may notice that the person on the screen does not look like Jackie Clayton. They're very similar, very
It's
similar.
it's the shirt.
It's the shirt, clearly. Please welcome Steve Browne to But First Coffee this morning. Woo! So glad to have you.
Here, John.
What is on your mug? What is on your mug? No
Oblama.
problema. Oh my God.
Come on, and that's the one from Disney. No, not Disney-like. Sorry, Disney-like.
Oh, Disney-like. Oh yeah, from The Emperor's New Groove. Yes. Yes. Good morning, party peeps. We are glad you're here. Jackie sends her love. She's actually, she should be at about, I think, 28,000 and climbing feet at this moment, as she is on her way to the Black Men in Tech conference, where she will have a role there with the team, with Cam and the team there. And we're super excited, honestly, that she's doing that.
Yes, very cool.
She's trying to connect from the, it's not going to go well. She's trying to connect from the airplane. Yeah. I'm like, they don't let you stream like that. That's not the kind of Wi-Fi it is. I'm going to try. Okay. I know. So, Jackie, if you're listening, we love you. You don't turn the camera on because you may cause complete malfunction on board the plane. So don't turn the camera on.
Brings plane down to be on LinkedIn Live.
But it's But First Coffee. But First Coffee. Good morning, party peeps. Joe and Claire. I see Josh. Insanity. That's so lovely. I don't think, that's mildly insulting, Josh. Just
a little bit.
We do have some good things to share. It's not going to be complete insanity. I do want to give, so for those that are unfamiliar with Steve Browne, who goes by the pronoun legend, to be very clear, as you can see there. Let's start by talking about your self-esteem. How's it doing?
It's very low, and I have to put it out in front of everybody, because if I don't, I just have a rotten day.
When your pronoun is legend, I think you feel pretty darn good about yourself. That's outrageous. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know about that. So can you fill people in, if you don't mind, just a little bit about what you do and where you are geographically and some stuff? I know there may be some people who don't know you, and that's shocking, but let's make sure that they have context.
Officially, I'm the Chief People Officer for La Rosa's Incorporated, and we're in Cincinnati, Ohio, regional pizzeria, and I get to work with humans.
Regional pizzeria done live, right? It's not a Zoom pizza. You don't have folks working remotely, correct?
We do not. We don't have no. It's kind of an in-person situation.
And let me ask you a question. This is really, I love this, because you and I, we hit the conference circuit and all kinds of get-togethers with other HR practitioners. How tough would you say it is to get people to take a job where they have to come in person versus ones where they can work remotely or from home? What's your tension in that?
We haven't found the tension because we had a flexible work environment far before the pandemic hit.
What does that mean? You mean for people in the kind of corporate office? Is that what you mean?
Across the board, except in manufacturing, which is a little harder because there's certain shifts and production standards we have to meet. But gosh, we're primarily a part-time workforce in the pizzerias. We have minors who can work only a limited amount of time. So it
Yep.
kind of built itself in. But even in that, flexibility is an attractive part about working in the restaurant business. And in the office, we don't have policies around time. It's, work,
Yeah.
where you are and wherever you are, work, please. And if you don't, we get to talk and
Yeah.
say, how can I make it so you can work and be flexible? So
I,
it's just a healthier way.
yeah, because, and I'm, put you on the spot with that because we both hear a lot about, if you're going to be an organization of the future, you have to be one that is, um, flexible, remote work. That's what the new generation wants. They don't want to come into a place. They want to work from their house. But that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah. I think there's a continuum. There's groups and professions that works well. So
Yep.
it shouldn't be an all or nothing thing. However, the culture, the connectivity, the integration, if you have an organization that is really tethered together,
Yeah.
people want to be with each other. You can do that virtually. We're
Yeah.
not in the same place right now,
No.
and we're very connected. So I, I think we get hung
Uncomfortably
up.
so. Uncomfortably so.
Yes,
Just so you know.
yes. I think we get hung up on labels and stigmas
Yeah.
instead
Yep.
of saying, what can we do to help work happen?
It is. And listen, I know that there are people who are devoted to the show and are listen to us all the time. You have to know that, some of those folks who are on here right now are in the similar situation. They don't have as much flexibility to say, oh, this whole division, sure, you all can work from home, no problem, because there is a physical product being produced, right? Manufacturing, distribution. You and I both have pretty robust hospitality backgrounds, whether it's in food service or hotel or or the like, or spa, y'all. I mean, like, you can't. It's hard to get a massage via Zoom. Super tough, and
And
you're paying $200 for it. Like,
how's
yeah,
that feel?
lean,
Yeah, that's
lean in.
great. I, I, I
If
feel
I
so
log
relaxed.
in and I see you doing this to me, I'm already super uncomfortable, and I don't know that I want to pay for that.
Is this better?
Yeah, oh, much better. Less
Much better. Okay.
awkward. Yeah. By the way, I just realized I had the wrong microphone on, so hopefully you can all hear me better now. This is just this platform. Every week we talk about how much we hate this platform, and we continue to do our show on it. It's just, this is where we are. This is where we are. Um, I will ask you though, as well, because I typically, and we laughed about this when we talked, Jackie, I usually give Jackie, like, hey, here's 3 or 4 things that we could talk about. What do you think about these things? And Jackie pretty much almost across the board rejects everything that I say. Without saying I reject you, she just says, how about this topic instead? And then that's what we talk about. And because I choose my battles, I'm pretty smart in life. This
Fair.
is right. Like, I don't
Fair.
need to argue with Jackie. And for those of you who've never argued with Jackie, just don't avoid it at all costs. It doesn't end well, and it gets kind of loud, and there's a lot of emotion and bitterness. And 5 minutes later, it's all done, but it's just a lot of angst. So I just say whatever she wants. So, kind of like marriage. So for
This is going to take a bad turn.
Yeah. My wife doesn't watch the show. I never have to worry about that. She has 0 time to listen to me talk in any context at all. I'm like, hon, I'm going to go speak at this event. Do you want to come? No, not really. No.
I know that feeling.
Yes.
I do. I love that about my wife. She, I hear you enough.
Yeah. Okay. I'm like, yeah, but you've never gone. Yeah. When we were in New Orleans, a couple of years ago, I'm like, hey, you want to come around to see something? No. Me and the girls, we're going to go do our own thing. But, I had dinner with them, with you. That was the only time I spent time with them at all the entire time we were in New Orleans. That's it. She was only willing to do it if she could share the time with you. That's how this worked.
As it should be. Legend.
Legend. Yes, people love this pronoun. So you and I talked, but you brought up this idea about why we should be uncomfortable. So contextually, where did that come from? And in terms of what kind of turn we should take, because in human resources, listen, y'all, we're uncomfortable probably regularly because of the stories or the accounts that come to us, right? So you were like, no, 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 no. Why is that happening? Don't touch him there. Like that kind of stuff. So what do you mean by why we should be uncomfortable?
I think we should be the people in the organization that push things forward, not make things comfortable. And too many of our peers are more in the blanket making business. Let's keep everything stable, stasis. This is less volatility. I love when people say, bring your whole self to work, except this stuff. And they're like, they're bringing that stuff anyway.
Don't bring your whole self. Please leave your whole self home. Please.
Yes, I don't want to hear all that. But what's interesting from an organizational standpoint, and you and I talk about this, I wish we would look at ourselves organizationally versus departmentally. We're part of the organization, not a department. If we treat ourselves that way, that's how the company will do it. That's how leadership will allow it. You'll never move forward. You'll complain and go, all I do is deal with crud every day. Instead of saying, I'm going to push and make the organization uncomfortable in how we can do things differently. Not negatively, but how can we do things in a positive way?
So I love that. I love that. The idea of, listen, y'all, those watching, if you don't have a context for us, I don't want to say, I'm not saying this about Jackie. No one is to go back to Jackie and say that I said this in reference to her, because I'm not. Don't lie, because she'll
put in the chat. Put in the chat.
She'll be all over me. But Steve and I, we've been around for a few decades in this work, which is terrifyingly true. And I hear what you're saying, and I'm trying to hear it as well in the context of someone who maybe only has, say, 3 years of experience in HR community or even management. I'll be a little broader in context. If you're in a supervisory or managerial role and it's been a few years, you can hear something like what's like what you just shared, Steve, and think that's idealistic. I don't have the gravitas that my CFO is going to listen to me or my COO is going to listen to me. So while I appreciate what you're saying about being uncomfortable, it sounds more ethereal than it will ever be actualized. So how do we answer that? Like, what do we say to people who can't aspirationally see that ever being a reality?
I think you have to start by getting out of a paradigm, and I hate the word paradigm, but there's no other good word.
Gosh, I can't believe you used that word. What are you doing?
Paradigm. That's what it should be, because the silent G is just creepy. But what's funny is we've fallen into this trap that we treat people based on their role and their level, not as people. So my CEO has life going on just like I do. Our receptionist has life going on just like I do. So instead of coming at it like, hi, I'm the head of HR, department of 1 or whatever, department of 7,000, and this is what we're going to do from an HR initiative, you come up and go, Michael, how are you doing today?
Yeah.
If we can bring the human element into work all the time, not be human, the H and HR crap, but be human. What happens is people talk to you back in a human lens. Then you go, let's talk about people stuff. And then people, because you and I have talked about this. I think every issue in a company is people-oriented, every single one. Because within 3 sentences or 3 words, it's like, purchasing, suffering, and John, you're like, wait, is it purchasing or is it John?
Yes.
Wow, it's purchasing. I'm like, I think it's kind of John. So we keep making it about all this. You talk about ethereal.
Yeah.
we just don't get real. We are afraid to.
And it doesn't mean though that there aren't things that might be wrong in a department in terms of a
Sure.
process, or certainly like that's so. I have a circumstance. I want to be careful about this one just because it's still an ongoing circumstance with a particular company, and not us. We're the truth tellers, and they're like, well, don't tell me that truth. Pick a different truth. Oh, well, let me see what I can do. Here's my index cards of truth. Let me find something else to make you feel better, right? But there are times that it's like the process may be broken. And because the process has been broken for so long, people have adapted to that broken process. And now people are operating in brokenness. Sure. And so now it is easy to say it's Steve's fault because this is a mess because of Steve. And whether it's a chicken or egg thing, I'm not asking you to sort of, spend a ton of time in, but I would say be thoughtful about the fact that do the systems support the kind of human interaction that we're looking to have? Yeah. If the systems lean towards the punitive, right, then you shouldn't be surprised that people are going to be irritated more than they're not because it's punitive for, this is the metric we have to hit. You didn't hit that metric. There's no context for why that metric wasn't hit. Do we take into account the fact that Steve had to get pulled off the floor for an hour because of a medical emergency or because Jimmy in another department asked for Steve's expertise to come over? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Steve didn't hit his quota for today. Well, then that's a punitive operational system. Right. And therefore, don't be surprised when Steve says, that's all I'm good for to you. Well, then I'm going to be transactional just back to you and not worry about being human. Right?
I agree. I think to your point, if we would say we need systems, it's not a people versus, it's a people, it's an if then. Yes. If it's because I have people, but systems should equip people. If systems equip people, they can do great work.
Right.
If it's to measure and confine people, that's what you're going to get. Like, I don't know why we're getting this result. Well,
I do. I know why. Ask me. I'll tell you, right? Like, and I think it's, first of all, I'm putting up comments and I'm not saying anything. Jessica, I put yours up before. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Myra.
Humans working with humans versus titles. So organizationally, let's talk about that for a second. Some companies, I don't know what everybody else's experience it has been, but I know some companies that care a whole lot about titles, So I come from part of my experiences in banking and finance for 8 years. Everyone and their mother is a vice president. Everyone and their mother is a vice president. I never saw anything like it in my life until I got into banking. What you mean? I just hired this person. He's been here 2 weeks. He's a vice president of business development. I'm going to give him $20 if he could spell his title out without looking at it on a cheat sheet. Somebody give me that. Let me give him $20 if he could spell vice president of business development. He has been here 14 days. What are we doing? But because we have given such a value to title, well, they will never take him seriously in the marketplace if he doesn't have that kind of title. That's a wrong belief. If that's really what it's about, then don't be surprised internally if everyone treats each other the same way. You're never going to be given credibility unless you have an SVP title or an EVP title, right? And then you're giving it out like candy on Halloween. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything, right?
You've got a title, and you've got a title, and you've got a title.
Everyone,
right? It's awesome.
It's ridiculous. And yet, for, I don't know what your experience has been, but I have had people come into an organization who that's their experience. And so when they come into an org where that's not the construct, they will chirp and ask for title a lot because that's the only bartering component that they're used to. And so it winds up irritating people. And they're like, listen, this guy's got to go. He's already asking for things. We've got other people who've been here longer. Now, stop. stop letting it be a transactional discussion. Obviously, this person has been influenced by previous experiences. So sit and have a transformational discussion. Let's get uncomfortable that way. Make that person have to deal with it, right?
Well, and you hit a great point. The best part about being uncomfortable is spending time with people on purpose instead of spending time with people only when there's a problem.
Oh my
We
gosh.
we've become a crisis first profession. Hey, when there's a crisis, I'm ready to go. Well, that's just awful. I mean, if you're just waiting for things to fall apart, what are you gonna do today? Don't know. Waiting
But
for
we
the
have
crisis.
PTSD. There are people with like seriously almost legit PTSD in the human resources profession because they're so trained to look for the problem.
Right. And now, are we there for the problems? Yes. Isn't that wonderful? That's kind of our role. But
I
what if we
love that
were
you say
ahead of
that.
it? And we were ahead of it, like, hey, it's a good day. It's a good day for a good day. And you're like, no, it's going to go awful. I just know. And you're like, I just had a
Right.
conversation with somebody. We're doing career conversations, and it's wonderful. So it's not a performance conversation. It's just hey, John, how are you doing? You're equipped. You know what to do. And the person came in and says, I just didn't know what to expect. I saw the calendar invite. And I go, okay, what did you expect?
Yeah, I mean,
I want to hear it. And they told me, I went, neat. So the idea is the reason it came up as an appointment is the worst thing's going to happen.
yes.
Well, I said, does it happen other days? When you have other appointments, is that your experience? And we had this great conversation
Yeah.
and dealt with anxiety and dealt with, uncertainty and dealt with all these things just by having a conversation.
It makes
We've
people
made it much.
uncomfortable though. Like to your point
Yes,
about being uncomfortable, it does make people uncomfortable.
it does. It does because the majority of our conversations is, John, you got a minute?
Oh, right.
And you're like, yes. And then it's just this giant weight coming at you instead of saying, hey, John, how's your family doing?
And you're like,
Well, what does
I
that
don't
have to do
really
with
care.
work?
I don't really care how
Oh,
your family's doing. I just feel like I'm supposed to ask that. Those are my favorite. I feel like I'm
I
supposed
love
to
it.
ask that so I could show humanity. If you're like, so how's your family? Great, great. Anyway, when you use anyway as your transition word, you have already told them you don't care. So don't
That's right.
pretend, right? It
Anyway,
actually
is not a conjunction. It's not a conjunction. We grew up with Schoolhouse Rock. It was not a conjunction.
Wow, you used a grammatical term. I'm going to tell you there are probably 60% of the folks listening right now who have no idea what a conjunction is because that's a whole other tirade. I taught junior high integrated language arts in Camden, New Jersey when I first graduated college, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade. I I taught these kids how to diagram sentences. They were like, what are you doing? You need to know how this thing is put together. Here's the subject, here's the predicate. I'm going to blow everybody's minds this morning, right? I'm using these words you may never have heard of before and drawing the lines on it. If anybody else, please back me up. If anybody else learned how to diagram sentences, and when you talk about conjunction, people are like, what? What are you talking about? And, but, or, nor. They're
Wendy got it.
conjunction. Yeah.
Wendy got it.
Yes.
Conjunction, junction. What's your function?
What's your function? Hooking up words and phrases and clauses.
And if you guys don't know, if you don't know Schoolhouse Rock,
YouTube. Get on YouTube immediately.
Changed our lives.
Immediately. It will. Watch all the Schoolhouse Rocks.
Yes.
Mr. Morton is the subject of my sentence, and what the predicate says he does is I adore that one. I adore that Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence. Listen to that one. Come on. Oh, my gosh.
My favorite one, since we're down a rabbit hole, in my senior government class, we had to write the preamble of the Constitution.
We the people.
And so we started, the whole class like, we the people.
Yes.
And we're singing, and the teacher goes, what's going on? We go, nothing. In order to form
establish
a
justice,
union,
domestic tranquility. I still know it.
Oh, yeah.
Provide for the common defense.
People are like, where's Jackie? Where's Jackie?
What? Look at these white boys singing white boy Saturday morning things. Look at them. Yes, we are.
Oh.
I mean, seriously, it is. And I made my kids watch them too. And we had Mr. White. If you're listening, my friend, Mr. White was a great teacher, and he still used Schoolhouse Rock in teaching my kids in elementary school. He still used it. I mean, literally would had stuff on video, like made sure that they saw this stuff because of the value there. Not everything is terrible just because it ages. Not everything is terrible. But I will say, if you're still showing that fish training video, stop it.
Correct. Agreed.
The Seattle fish market training videos, stop showing that. Stop. I'm pointing to you. Stop doing it. Yes. So
there's nothing like good HR with a good chastisement to start the day. Hey, you know what you need to stop doing?
Look at what Josh wrote. Honestly, I haven't seen her. She literally may be in custody right now. That absolutely could be true. Or she's arguing with the flight attendants around why it won't connect, and she paid $25 for this Wi-Fi. Why won't it connect? Yeah. Yep. While she's asking for Prosecco and all they have is watered down champagne. I already can hear the conversation. I'm so sorry to say, everyone. I'm so sorry to say. What a goof.
Jamie's.
What a goof.
Oh.
First of all, I'm going to just say this, Jamie. Jackie already has handcuffs, and that's all I'm going to say. I won't say anything else.
That's a whole different show. I will not be part of.
You could talk to our executive producer. She's already got handcuffs. Anyway, stop. Find a happy place. Find a happy place.
Better be.
So we have points to make. So how do you? And I'd love, obviously, for everybody that's listening, would love to hear your thoughts too. Thank you all again for all of the comments. We love this. And those who might be watching after the fact, by the way, don't not comment, because everyone who's here gets to see what you're commenting on, particularly on LinkedIn. Like, everyone gets notified of what your thought is. So please be sure to do that. But my question is, so let's go the other way. How do you get leadership to be considerate about being uncomfortable? Because they sometimes are the worst ones. They don't want to be uncomfortable at all. The CEO, CFO, whatever it might be, VP of operations. Just don't bother me. Everything's working. Let's leave it alone. Why do you have to start trouble? How do you get them to see this as being a business positive?
It's interesting that in a lot of the literature and stuff that's out there, we talk about transparency. You can't be transparent and not uncomfortable, because someone's going to bring someone up and you go, ooh, that was prickly. So one of the phrases I use here at work is, it's okay to be a little prickly.
Yeah.
We have to have different opinions, diverse thought, dissension, thorough context. Those things, it's uncomfortable isn't negative.
Yeah.
It's just not the norm. If we keep producing the norms, things don't change. And when things change, we're caught off guard. And the last thing we want to be is caught off guard. You want to try and be ahead of things. But if you're not trying to keep things current, one of the things I use in a presentation is, I don't break the mold, I create the new one. So
which is cool.
So, it's not, this is wrong.
Right.
Let's make something new. Things are evolving. I love your comment you had on one of the platforms about HR tech, about everything's AI.
Oh.
And we're old enough that, remember the year 2000, .com, the .com boom, everything will be .com. Don't even go to work because everything's going to be .com. And then at New Year's, the world was going to fall apart. Because it was great. So we were at a New Year's party, and my friend, we're like 5, 4, 3, 2, and he went out to his electric and turned the electric off in the house.
That's
at 1, and we're like, ah! And then we went,
that is
popped it back on. So, we're not looking at how do we use AI. We're like, AI will ruin us forever. It's the Matrix come to life. And you're like, Uh-huh. Well, maybe.
First of all, I wish Neo would be in my employment. Like I'd love to work with Neo. That would be so fun. Morpheus, I think, would get written up a lot. But I mean, I'm happy to, right? I mean, Morpheus had a
Yeah.
lot of attitude.
The whole guns at work thing wouldn't be on. I'm telling you.
Probably not a great
Probably not.
idea.
Yeah.
Probably. The ducking, though, I might, we could do an outing, like team building, so we could all do that piece. Yes, that's the best part. Um, I, I, I mean, the AI thing is a great example that you brought up because we are, like Steve said, Jackie and I were at HR Tech last week, along with obviously it wasn't just the two; it was a lot of other people were there. I think it was like 7,000, something like that. 500 companies, tech companies, were there. 500.
Amazing.
And I will tell you, there were companies that opted not to come. So that doesn't exhaust all the tech companies that were there, right? A lot of startups, a lot of creativity. I would probably say like somewhere, if there's still a Kinko's somewhere, like people were just going and having these like stickers printed to put on the backdrops that they already had that were like powered by AI with it, in the starburst, right? We've got generative AI. And I'm like, tell me what generative means. You tell me what generative means, right? Because I know you're just wanting to use stuff, and I can be a jerk, and I know, and I apologize. But you just want to use these terms because you think that is going to entice people. If just using terms is the enticement, we don't know our value proposition at all.
Right.
At all.
Right.
There's no way we can if that's what we need to lean on, right? Like AI is not the savior. AI is going to be supportive. AI is going to help us do work maybe a little more efficiently, maybe smooth some edges, like maybe, but it's not going to solve for everything. And we have to stop being worried about it.
Correct.
Right? Because people are uncomfortable about AI. They are uncomfortable. And it's silly.
When I remember I never wanted to get one of these.
Me too.
Because I go, I won't do it. Again, this is fun being old on the show. Remember GPS and TomToms?
Oh, TomTom.
And I go, I'm not getting one of those because then they'll know where I'm at. And my wife goes, do you have a phone?
Yeah.
And I go, yeah. They don't know where I'm at. I'm like, oh, they do. And here's the thing. If we think living in fear helps us do our job better, that's just sad.
Yes.
Sad. And I think a lot of HR pros kind of approach from a fear perspective, or they allow people, managers, to manage in fear or lead in fear. And so there's all this tension that has to happen. Instead of saying context, search, slow down, talk about it, disagree, understand. We value pace and speed far more than interactions and relationships.
And we have to keep up with it. I love this, and I'm sorry, I don't know who the LinkedIn user is. This, I can't tell who it is. So whoever it is, just tell me who you are. But I was so attached to my BlackBerry, no way was I getting a touchscreen phone, right? And people are very funny about their tech. What I swore I would never do, but here you are doing it, right? There are people, for instance, who remain on the Android platform and won't advance to the Apple-based platform. I don't know if you know any of those folks, but it happens. Hi, Rachel.
I think they worship the devil.
Clearly.
Well, not everybody. Maybe one person whose last name rhymes with rock.
First of all, I see that was Clippy the first AI bot. I always think of Max Headroom, for those that remember Max, as being like, right, like.
Yes,
that's a great.
Clippy was the first bot, I think.
I think so.
For the Android for life.
This idiot. Someone help him. Listen, everyone, for the price of a cup of coffee a day, you can help Josh Rock in the deficiencies of his life for the price of a cup of coffee a day. So let's start that. Let's start that fundraiser. I will say, I have had instances in the workplace where technology has caused severe division
Sure.
in within departments and teams because of the sort of white knuckling of I will never let this go. Whatever the this is, whatever tech
Mhm.
platform, SaaS platform, even whatever even process that's in place, and we're going to tweak it because we have some technological support now, and just white knuckling onto these things and literally wanting to take your colleagues down because of these pieces that are being added. And I say, if you feel that uncomfortable about it, whatever the it is, right? This tech, this process change, if you're that dug in, you have two options. One, really work hard to explain non-emotionally why the process and flow of what you want to defend makes sense to stay the way they are. How will this addition not be the benefit that some people think it is? It's
Mhm.
okay to have a counterpoint. I'm not saying just accept it and move on. That's not what I'm saying. But that's your primary option if you want to be heard seriously, right? Because your discomfort ought to push you towards explanation, real explanation, not just, I hate it. I hate it isn't telling me anything, right? But your second option is if you can't figure out a way to defend your position other than emotionally, I don't like change, then you may have to think about moving on. And that's a hard thing to hear. And that makes people uncomfortable as well. That's not a threat. It is not a threat. And I know HR gets afraid of that. It's not a threat. Is Steve, if you don't love what's being added to the process and you're going to just be cranky about it, I promise you, I don't want you to live cranky. I
Right.
don't want you to live that way. You may need to think about finding a place where you don't have to live in crankiness. You really might need to think about that.
Yeah. And it's the same on the front end of technology. I love when vendors go, you must, I have, I'm
Yeah.
generative and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, um, tell me, tell me how that helps us. Well, it'll do everything. And favorite thing, I have what you need. And it's a terrible lead in. It makes me uncomfortable. So I turn it back. And so I had a vendor call me, 401k vendor call me all the time, like we've never had a 401k. And he says, hey, I have a 401k and it's what you need. And I said, what I really need is a kidney. And he goes, what? I said, oh, what? I said, no, really. Is that, do you have that as an option? And he just went crazy. And I went, see, you didn't ask anything about me, but you told me about your service. And that's what's more important. So, it's right there. Talk to me with context.
What I
Don't,
need is a kidney. What is wrong with you? Why would you say this to someone?
because it was fun.
Oh my gosh, that person felt horrible, I'm sure, in that moment. You are,
I met him later at a chapter meeting. And they're like, I'll never forget that. I go, I bet you won't.
I bet you won't, because the poor person was like, oh no, what have I done? Oh my
That's why did I
God.
call this person?
I mean, I would say, Wendy, I love what Wendy put in. A lot of folks hate the new tech because they hold some sort of power in the old process or tech, right? And they're
Great
worried
point,
about
Wendy.
losing it. It's a great
Great.
point.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Do we want to talk about the myth of control in organizations, because that's the good one?
it'll
You
make
know,
people completely uncomfortable when you expose it.
yeah, this whole I have power. You might be direct or intentional, but none of us have control.
It's fascinating because people will think that, right? I have control, I have power here, and really want to lean into it. And then when a company either changes their role or for whatever reasons replaces that person, you really are hit with, wait a minute, I'm able to be replaced. I thought I was right? Someone that they could never get rid of. I mean, how many people think that they wouldn't know how to function here if I weren't here? And yet some of those same people are no longer with those organizations where they made those kind of pronouncements or sat in that belief. And those companies somehow are still functioning and growing and moving. How could that be? You were so indispensable. How could that be? Because it's not true. You don't have that much control. You
Now,
don't.
my boss, we have this great practice. It's not a policy, a practice at our company that when you are out of the office, for whatever reason, you're out of the office.
Yes.
And so we don't want you to contact the office because you're so important and you have to touch base. And we will honor that you're not in the office. If you abuse it, blah, blah, blah. So don't go crazy. But here's the thing. I was on vacation, my first vacation when I started here, and I called in because that's how I was taught. That's how I was learned and learned in other organizations. And my boss is like, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Great." He goes, "How's Myrtle Beach?" I go, "Well, not kind of my thing, but it's great." He goes, "How's family?" I go, "Great." He goes, "How would I know that?" And I said, I don't know. He goes, "You're calling in because you're going to tell me about your vacation?" No, I'm checking on work because I'm supposed to check on work. He goes, "Look, we've been in business for 54 years without you."
I love that.
I'm like, oh, oh. And he goes, "So why don't you go enjoy your vacation?"
Have a great time. Yeah.
He was the master of making things uncomfortable. He knew how to do it and put things in perspective. It's not what you do isn't valuable. It doesn't mean you don't have talent. It doesn't mean you don't have something to add. Quit thinking of it as indispensability.
Yeah.
Think about it as contribution. I move the company forward through the work that I do instead of you got to count on me because the company was there before you and it's going to be there after you.
Hopefully, right? And I want to make sure I give because Lex is here. Hello, Lex. Um, um, and she is jetting because Jerry Crispin is doing a job sync
Nice.
webinar next. So in 17 minutes, leave here and then go over and watch the godfather of recruiting, Jerry Crispin, who we all bow to Jerry. I would say there is a difference in terms of what you just described. That there is a difference that I think we have to get better at between uncomfort and discomfort because
Good point.
right, they are not the same. And so it's okay. You kind of said this earlier, right? Like being uncomfortable isn't bad necessarily, but if someone puts you in discomfort, that's where it's not good, right?
That's the line. That's the
Yeah.
line.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so when some of you, I know you and I, obviously, Steve and I, for those that don't know us, there are moments where we can be a little emotional. It's been known to happen. I mean,
cried this morning.
did you?
It's a good day. Oh yeah, had a person in my office.
Oh, I thought you were crying because you had to do this with me today. Sorry.
That's just agony. But one of my team members, her son is going to have senior day and walk across the football field, and she starts crying. I go, and I said, I remember when my daughter went through senior day and we cried, and it was beautiful.
Right.
It's a good day.
It's a good day. I mean, I tear up all the time, right? I could cry right now on demand if asked. But but if I'm crying because I'm in discomfort, if I'm in pain, if someone is invading my person, that's very different. And very different. And we have to be an advocate to protect people in those areas, whether you're a supervisor, a manager, senior manager, HR, I don't care where you are. We need to be advocates for one another and keep people from discomfort. But uncomfort has to come with the territory. I need to be uncomfortable at times because perhaps I've become too myopic in how I'm looking at this process, or which is probably true for most of us, how I've categorized someone, and I really won't let them be seen in any other context or light. That's my problem. That is my problem. And I need to be made uncomfortable about that. I need to be challenged to say, the thing you're still thinking of is 24 years old. Do you know it's been that long? that original opinion was formed that you have for that person, or even 14 years old, or even 4 years old? How long, what's the statute of limitations on allowing people to evolve and change? Come on, right? I need to be made uncomfortable in those things. That's a great conversation to have with your senior leadership. There are times
Yes.
that I have done that in my past where I've sat and I knew some of them pretty well. And so I would sit with my CEO and COO and say, we're going to talk about org structure. We're going to talk about org communication. Let me start by saying this, and I want to kind of share with you something that I know about somebody who works here. I want to ask you what your approach would be. And I sort of adjust slightly some things that I know about the CEO and COO and kind of package it a little differently and listen to the CEO and happen say to me, ooh, who is that? That person sounds, we probably shouldn't have that person here, right? And I'm like, this is why I'm bringing it up. I want to kind of talk through it with you. What's the measure of grace that we should operate from? Like, do I give this person another chance? Do we think about some sort of training or mentoring? What do you think? No. We ought to cut and run. And I'm like, okay, you're fired.
Done it. It's very, very challenging to do. But when you put that mirror in front of people, they're like, hey,
Yeah.
well, not me, not me.
Not me.
Or,
what are you talking about? Why am I fired? Well,
after you get sworn at, and usually I've done it, and people are like,
that's right.
Good reaction.
Yes.
Good reaction.
Yeah. I completely turn into Sophia, right, from the Golden Girls. I'm like, picture it. 1978. You're walking the streets of Milwaukee. This is what you did. Right? Well, that was different. Oh, no. You don't get to do that was different thing. Because you didn't give this person that you didn't realize I was talking about you weren't asking to give that person a chance to sort of plead their case. You didn't.
Right.
You said we ought to get rid of that. But now you're asking me to allow you to plead your case because it's you. Right. So we have to be able to sort of poke the bear a little bit sometimes with our senior leadership to say, don't forget where you've come from. Don't forget the mistakes you've made along the way, which have allowed you to become the leader that you are. We need to afford people some measure, again, of grace, some latitude to be able to figure out some things that don't come so naturally. We have people who are graduating from school who have spent less time physically engaged with others than at any other time in history. They've done their collegiate career completely online because of COVID, and then it sort of just stayed that way. And I'm not giving them a hard time. That's not what I'm saying. But the context of how they're coming into the workforce is a little different. They didn't sit in a room with 3 other people on a group capstone project, not on video, but in person, and smelled the stink on some of the people who didn't shower from the beer fest they had the night before, or I'm speaking from personal experience, or like whatever these things, like you didn't have to contend with the interpersonal pieces that normally would have come up. And now we're throwing that person into a workplace where they may have to, and you want to know why they're struggling? This is a new context for them. Can we not give them grace? Right?
It's a new world. And what's funny is we keep saying, I'll never become the people that treated me this way. And you already have. I have. And so it's just people are different, and that should be awesome. It's not people are different and that should be this or labeled this way. It's we are different, and that's what makes us great. So the new generation comes in with different expectations. Okay, so did we.
Yes.
Gosh, I'd like to have flexibility and add value in what I do. No, that's stupid. But here's a VP title. I mean, it's just we have things backwards. And what's so funny is I think HR people want to do the right thing. I think they need to know that you have the permission,
mostly, yes,
and the latitude to do it.
Yeah.
One of the things when you talked about senior leadership, my boss, who I adore, we'll talk about forever, told me, he says, "Hey, I'm tired of the only person who tells the CEO no." I go, okay, well, thanks for telling me. He goes, no, I want you to start doing it too. And I went, oh, and that was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So how do you go into a senior leader and go, hi, guess what my job's supposed to be? But it wasn't to say no to be negative. It was
Right.
saying no to
Right.
help him move forward and to look
Right.
out for him and be a safe haven for him and all kinds of good things. We have a position like none other as HR professionals to help people succeed at every level. If we would think of that from an abundance standpoint versus a scarcity standpoint, that's so uncomfortable right
So
there.
uncomfortable. So uncomfortable.
But think how freeing it really, really is to be able to do that for others and yourself. I ache, and I know you ache when I hear about how much of our peers just are worn out, they're burnt out, they hate what they do.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, it's kind of fun.
Well, and
There's fun to do.
And there's something idealistic that I think some of our peers, and I know a bunch of you who are listening, like you have these same conversations within your own organization, at least on your own team, where HR or management is sort of contending with one another positionally, right? It's sort of that like, I'm your friend, but I'll become your frenemy, right? When the next promotional opportunity happens or is in front of us. And so we kind of keep things a little arm's length. And I will tell you that winds up infecting, not affecting, infecting the way in which you're going to relate to everyone within the organization, even if they aren't quote unquote competitors for, to your career map that you have.
Right.
Because you wind up just sort of adopting this defensive posture. And when you're in human resources and you have that kind of defensive posture, you're going to be allowed to stay in a defensive posture. And you'll know that you've been allowed to do so because your rear end is in your seat a lot more than out and about with people. That's how you're going to know. Take a look at where your rear end is most of the day. And that's going to tell, just turn around and look at it. Where is it? And if it's mostly in your seat, I'm telling you, it is often because you have, drawn the dividing lines and relationally have decided what your engagement level is going to be. Please know, I'm not saying, because I've been there, I'm not saying that I can't appreciate or understand how that happens. That's not what I'm saying. But I think you have to get uncomfortable and get out of it. Because you're going to burn out. Like to your point, you're going to hate this job. You are going to not be the advocate that you really are meant to be. And I don't mean advocate like for the people or advocate for the company. I just mean an advocate, period, for the best way forward in whatever the context is. Because you're going to be in a silo. You're just going to be. There's no way around it.
Agreed. And it was funny, is it weeks ago, people are difficult, people are challenging, people are frustrating. And I go, who's a person?
Right. Hi.
Oh, no. It's those. It's like, no, it's us. I'm frustrating. I'm challenging. I'm difficult. We have to get out of this third person approach or speak in third person. It's John. It's Nicole. It's LinkedIn user that we don't know their name. It's Joe. It's Jamie.
Rachel.
It's Rachel. It's Nikki. Nikki, by the way, senior night coming next week.
Yes.
Yay, Nikki.
Tears are coming for you. I saw that. Tears are
cry
coming
for you. But we've dehumanized HR instead of saying it's people stuff, people-y all the time.
Well, you and I, we've talked about this for sure. And people have heard me say this. Like, I love being invited into like, Matt Stolick's class or some collegiate class. Oh my gosh, I love the classes. And
I have to do something for Jackie.
We have to do something for Jackie. I forgot that we were doing that. Hold on. I have mine too. Okay. So These are actually
Those are
Jessica.
Jackie's glasses.
These are
Those are hers.
These are Leap Gen glasses. Thank you so much. I have these Leap Gens. They're blue light glasses, and I use them every so often. But we have to remember that, you know, when you're dealing with people, and you have the opportunity to be an influencer to others. So like I was saying, I'm in the college setting. I'm asked to come in and kind of just chat at a lecture around what it's like to be in HR. And I'll ask, why are you doing HR? Why are you, you're in the business program, but you're focusing on human resources. Why is that? Every time, without fail, someone will say, I just really like people. I just really like people. People just energize me. And I don't want to crush them all right away. But I do. And I give it like 30 seconds because I'm like, in the first week of whatever HR job you have, you'll hate people. You'll hate them because HR, especially in many, or I should say in many organizations, it's been so transactionally heavy, very little transformative considerate, that you're treated transactionally in a relationship. Can you do this? Can you change my address? My direct deposit has to be updated. I don't have a benefits card. My spouse went to use the benefits and was denied. Well, your spouse went to Publix and tried to use the insurance card. It's not going to work for you in the grocery store.
It won't buy an avocado. It won't.
Who told you could use your HSA for that? It's not true, right? Yeah, but she's going to put it on her face. We're not eating it. No, right? But the whole entire relationship is transactional. Your job, if you really do love people, is to maintain conversation and consideration in transformative moments as well. You're never going to get out of the transaction. It's part of our job. But you have to be much more intentional. If not, you will hate people. No way around it. You have to get uncomfortable.
I have a new slide, and I love it. It shows it like a Renaissance painting from the Dutch. Yep. And the Dutch person says, I'm a people person, and he's holding a goose. And the goose says, I'm a geese goose. You're not a people person.
You're not a people person. Yes.
Yes.
I'm
a geese goose.
Yes, Jessica, I've got the Leap Gen swag on. Come on. Handed to me personally by CEO of Leap Gen at the time, Mr. Aberbrook. Personally. So these have been blessed. I want to say, and I know Jackie is going to watch this and have lots of comments for us, just so we're both prepared. The text messages will be coming. She is going to say lots of things that we should have said, ways that we should have said what we have said better. She means it as a learning opportunity. She doesn't mean it to insult us. So I want to make sure, Steve, you understand that. I'm trying to make sure that the discomfort that it will feel like is really received as being uncomfortable, not discomfort.
I'm good. I think it'll be great.
Yeah, this is. I'm so glad that, honestly, that you asked, that you brought this up to talk about, because I believe that sitting in this uncomfort conversation is really much more for us as individuals than it is for how am I going to talk to my CEO? How am I going to talk to my CHRO or whomever it might be? That will happen. But I think first, it's really about us being willing to sort of sit in this idea of being uncomfortable and saying it is okay for me to be uncomfortable.
Embrace it.
It's not
it's a lot more fun. Lot more fun.
It is. It totally is. And it allows for you to have such authentic conversations with people when you're comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you're like, I know it doesn't feel good. I know. Right? Like,
that's all right.
It's more than all right. Hey, I forgot to give a shout out. Thanks to Hire Easy. Thanks for loving me so much and for being so kind to me last week and at HR Tech. Shannon and the team, thank you so much. Hey, y'all, that's going to do it for us. Next week, Jackie will, I'm going to say this and I'm going to regret it. Jackie will be back next week until she realizes that she's on a flight to Guam and forgot that she's headed somewhere else, which is pretty typical for both of us, quite honestly. If you are going to be at the Sherman Inclusion Conference, I will see you there in a little over a week. I'll be speaking there. Steve and I, for those of you super interested, Steve and I will be together on November 16th here in Vero Beach. Steve's coming to hang out. He's going to speak to a local chapter here called Treasure Coast. Come hang out wherever you are. Come fly to Florida and hang out with us.
And it will be uncomfortable.
Super uncomfortable. He'll touch a lot of people. The idea of hanging out with us, we would love to have you join us live. So, my friend, thank you so much for doing this with me this morning.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Great to see you. We have to clink our coffee cups. Do you still have your llama cup? Have a great day, everybody. Clink.
See you.
Bye.